Good evening and welcome. It is such a great turnout. Thank you all for being here. My name is Valerie McClung, and I'm the Community Relations Manager for the City of Chino Hills. And the Community Relations Division is responsible for putting on this workshop every year. And the team that you see up here, Joyce Lee, our Emergency Services Coordinator, Nicole, our PIO, is in the back. Brandon is at the check-in table. So whenever you have questions about emergency preparedness, please let us know. Community Relations is the division that can assist you. And then over here in the front is Edward Chan, and he's manning the camera. And what that means is you'll be able to look at this workshop on the website after a couple of days. So it'll be on chinohills.org, Emergency Preparedness. That's the website page. Your attendance here tonight is important, and it really goes a long way towards learning what you can do to be prepared for the many hazards that we have been facing, and more frequently. I'm sure you've all noticed that. And I'm sure that's why we have a wonderful turnout tonight as well, is because our community really turns out when we talk preparedness. Disasters, both natural and man-made, can strike at any moment, often when we least expect them, such as the recent earthquakes that you all have noticed. As of last week, Southern California has broken the record for the most magnitude 4 and above earthquakes in a single year, after a magnitude 4.7 earthquake and 5 aftershocks rocked Malibu last Thursday. And if you're wondering if earthquakes happen in Chino Hills, of course you feel them, but we did have a significant earthquake. And when you look at the websites, CalGIS and all of those Caltech websites, what you'll see is Chino Hills earthquake is still one of the largest earthquakes in Southern California, so it's still on the list. Also, if the recent shakers aren't enough to drive home the importance of emergency preparedness, then please consider the 3 major fires burning to the north and south of us. The Bridge Fire has burned nearly 55,000 acres. The Line Fire has burned nearly 40,000. And to the south, the Airport Fire has consumed nearly 24,000 acres. All of these have resulted in the evacuation of thousands. So evacuations can and do happen, and we have to be prepared for those. So what you're doing here tonight is vitally important, and I applaud each and every one of you for taking the time to prepare and to protect yourselves and your families. Because being prepared is not a choice. I think it's a responsibility that we all bear together, and so it's wonderful to see such a good turnout. We have a lot to cover, so I'm going to get to the introductions of a few notable individuals in our audience tonight. We have in the back of the room, Councilmember Ray Marquez. Thank you, sir, for being here. We also have our city manager, Ben Montgomery, and he's in the back of the room as well. And then our assistant city manager, Rod Hill. And I think that's it that we have right now. So thank you all for coming out and supporting our mission and supporting our residents in this mission. You were also given a passport for preparedness, and I know that you guys have already gone through the process of getting it stamped. So again, just remember to visit every booth, bring up the ticket in front here. Nicole will take them in the break and at the end, and they'll give you an extra chance to win raffle prize, possibly. Also, midway through the agenda tonight, you'll also have the opportunity to visit the booths. That'll be at about 7:45, and we'll also give you a chance to take a quick break if you need to, and then we'll try to wrap up this workshop in about an hour and a half. Also, a bit of housekeeping. If you don't know, the restrooms are out these back doors and to the left. So you can feel free to, go ahead and use the facilities if you need to at any point this evening. So finally, let's get started. I'd like to introduce our first speaker, who will go over the agenda for tonight. And then also, she's going to be covering a variety of topics. Joyce joined the city in 2023 after serving as an emergency manager in the Air Force for 4 years. She has real life experience managing emergencies. During that time, she completed her master's degree in emergency services management with Columbia Southern University. Please welcome Joyce Lee.
All right, thank you all for coming tonight. And I'm going to go over our agenda for the evening. So I will be going over building an emergency kit and then earthquake preparedness and emergency tips. After me, our public information officer, Nicole Freeman, who you've seen up here at our raffle table, will go over emergency alerts. And then fire department will be going over wildfire terminology and preparedness tips. And then we will go to intermission, where you can see all of our informational booths. We have tonight Allied Restoration, Red Cross, I don't see them yet, our Chino Hills Auxiliary Radio Team, and then our Chino Hills Police Department, Chino Valley Fire District, City of Chino Hills. I will be over there during intermission as well. And Inland Valley Humane Society and SPCA, and they have the very cool dog tag machine. And Livestream, I don't see them yet as well. We also have SoCal Gas and Southern California Edison. So make sure you check out all these booths. And then to close, we will go to PD. Our Sheriff's Department will go over evacuation procedures and emergency communications. And then at the very end, we will do a close and raffle all the prizes you see at our raffle table. So make sure you fill out those passports if you want an extra chance. All right, so I'll dive right into emergency kits and earthquake safety. So what do you need to do in an emergency to prepare, and what to do during an earthquake, especially since we've been having so many. So emergency kits, different types. How many of you have an emergency kit at home, just a house kit? Good amount? All right, good. When's the last time you guys were looking at them, right? That's another question. So we have a couple different types of kits. So you have to-go kits. So those are that grab and go. That's kind of the ones you want to have, those important household documents that you can just grab real easy and not have to look for them. So that would be something where you have enough supplies to last your family for 72 hours, so 3 days. And then at least one of those kits per individual in your household. Don't forget your pets. They also need a kit. And then a good idea is using a backpack or a duffel bag. If your kids, you buy them new backpacks each year for school year, and the old one is kind of decent, use that. It's a great option to use for a bag and not have to spend extra money. And then you have your stay boxes. So those are intended to stay for shelter in place type of events. So that might be something like an earthquake where your house isn't necessarily affected, but maybe your water got turned off, right? Or maybe the power is out and it's a fire, situation, but you're not necessarily in the area that's being threatened by the fire. But, when SCE does those rolling blackouts, that's a great kit to have some supplies for your family for at least 7 to 14 days. And so that'll help you be more prepared if it's those longer emergencies. Like, think of last year with the snowstorms up there in the mountains, right? They were kind of up there for a few days before those supplies could get to them. It's another great time to have that stay box. And so, again, you're going to want to have at least one for the household, and using rolling totes, extra suitcases, or supplies that you've got in your pantry. Camping equipment's always a good one. If you look at our example table, some of the items I brought are camping items. I don't camp, but those are great items. You can dual purpose them for that. So some basics for your kits would be food and a can opener. Nothing's worse than not having a can opener. I've learned that the hard way. Water, hygiene items are always great. First aid kit and any prescriptions you have. Whistle for safety if you need to alert, fire PD to where your location is if you're injured. Whistle's a great one to have. And any other personal protective equipment that you might want. Flashlight with extra batteries is always another great one to have. Can't have enough flashlights. And then hand crank or battery powered radios. We will actually be raffling off a weather radio today, so you have a chance to win one if you don't have one. And then a change of clothes and sturdy shoes, cash and small bills, portable charger with cords, especially in the day and age we live in. We're all technologically interlocked, so those chargers are vital. And then important documents, and then an emergency plan with contacts so that you know who to contact. We don't have phone numbers memorized as much anymore. I don't think I have any current ones other than my old house number. So it's good one to have, good reminder. And then to enhance your kit, after you have those basics and you want to keep extending and building your kit out, you can add in a fire extinguisher, any rain gear, emergency blankets are always a great one, a map of the area in case the internet is out. I don't think anyone has Thomas guides anymore, but maybe stop by AAA, get a map of the area. That might be a good idea. Extra set of keys, duct tape, multi-purpose tools, utility shutoff tool. We'll raffle off a few of those as well tonight. Two-way radios are always great. And then water filters, generators, fire escape ladders if you have two-story homes. Those are always another great option. And then to customize your kit, so think about your household and make it unique to you. So if you have kids, babies might need extra supplies like diapers and wipes, bottle, formula. Comfort items for children are always great to have, like games, different toys. And then include contact information for your children's school, doctor's office, babysitters, the numbers that you live by each day. And then for your pets, make sure they have a kit as well. You can customize it to them. Include food, water, treats, sanitation items, crates, ID tags, collar, your vet information, toys. Vaccine records a great one, especially if you end up evacuated for an emergency. Different shelters, depending on who's running it, they might ask for those records, so it's always a great thing to have that copy of those vet records in there. And then another one that's not on here, but if your pet is on any medication, make sure you have that easily grabbable in that chance of having to go, And then for access and functional needs or older adults, include your medications, keep a list of what prescriptions you take, and you can talk to your doctor about how to create a emergency supply of medications. I know I've done that in the past few years, and now I've staggered it out. I have an extra month's supply. So if that's something that is feasible, talk to your doctor, and you can come up with that plan together. And then having a cooler or ice pack available for medications that need to be refrigerated, such as insulin, is always a great thing to have. And then if you use eyeglasses or contacts, having extras of those is another great option. And then include pen and paper if you happen to have communication difficulties so that it's more easy to communicate with others. And then if you use a mobility aid, having extra or extra batteries are always a great option as well if it's feasible. And then communicate with your neighbors. We all are a community, so talk to your neighbors. They might be able to assist you in the event of an emergency in ways that you might not necessarily know of unless you talk to your neighbors. So that's always a great thing to do is don't just prepare for yourself. Talk to your neighbors. Do you have a neighbor who lives by themselves? Or do you live by yourself and maybe you need a little bit of extra help? Talk to your neighbors and have that camaraderie together to be ready for an emergency. So there's a few places to have your kit. I definitely recommend all three of these. So at home, have that 72-hour stay box. put it under the bed, put it in the kitchen, garage. I think I put mine in my back closet, super easy to find. Your car is another great place to have an emergency kit because you're not always home when an emergency strikes. So another 72-hour kit in there is always good with jumper cables, chains if you happen to ever go up in areas near snow. Road flares, they even make these electronic ones that recharge, which are great because then you're not starting fires. Um, and it's rechargeable. You can reuse it, so it's not a one-use thing. Mylar blankets, will also raffle a few of those off tonight as well. Phone charging cables, flashlight, all great items to have. And then at work, I know for us, for City of Chino Hills, we provide them to our staff, but it's always a great option if your workplace doesn't provide them. Have a kit ready, whether it's in your car or at your desk. It's a great option. Again, 72-hour kit, flashlight, batteries, a whistle, food, water supply, and first aid kit. Great items to have on hand. What's that? Oh, that's very true. I keep the pair in the back of my car because I learned that the hard way. Always have an extra pair of shoes. Very good idea, especially if you're rotating out those shoes that maybe you're not going to wear as much anymore. Just put them in the back of your car. It's a good option. I like that. It's a very good idea. And then so checking and refreshing your kit. I mean, we kind of surveyed at the very start of this, right? That might be something we all forget a little more. So here's some suggested times. You want to do it once to twice a year. So start of the new year's a great time. Daylight savings time's an easy one because it's 6 months apart. So spring, fall. Or you could do it right now. September's National Preparedness Month. Great time to be prepared. Next month, October, we have the Great Shakeout, the earthquake drill. And then November, if you're doing Black Friday shopping, maybe it's a time to think, oh, I'm going to go get some more supplies for my emergency kit while they're on sale. Great option. Prime Day is another good one for that. So just whatever makes sense to you, whether it's, family birthdays that are 6 months apart, whatever dates make sense to you. But it's a good thing to check your kits and refresh them once to twice a year, especially with the food and water, the batteries, swap them out, use those, and get new ones in there. And then budget-friendly tips. So I've spoke to some of you who've come to my booth already, but build your kit over time. Start with a basic kit and then build it out to your family's unique needs. Community events such as this and different discount stores are great places to get different emergency supplies for your kits. And then, if you have kids, like I said earlier, use their old backpacks. It's a great option for a bag. You don't need to buy a brand new bag. And then don't just think about what is in your kit, but again, talk to your support network and see how you can both help each other in the event of an emergency. So some tips for earthquakes, since those have been very frequent lately. Practice protecting yourself during an earthquake with your family, your coworkers, your friends. So start by making an emergency plan. And how many of you showed up last year when we did building your own emergency plan at our workshop? A few of you? Okay. So building that emergency plan with your family is a great starting point. Talk about what to do in an emergency. Where would you meet up if you're separated? Have a communication plan are all great things to get you started. Make sure when you build that a supply kit, again, 3-day at least for food and water for each family member and pet in your household, flashlight, fire extinguisher, whistle. And then some ideas for protecting your home. And I know as Californians, we probably hear this one a lot, but secure those heavy items in your home, like your bookcases, TVs, refrigerators, different things that can fall off of your walls and hit you. So you want to be as prepared so that way we don't have things hitting us on the head. And then during an earthquake, we have that, stop, drop, and cover, hold on. So if you're in a car, pull over, stop, set the parking brake. If you're in bed, turn face down, cover your head and neck with a pillow. And then if you're outdoors, stay outdoors and away from the building. And then one that's changed a little bit in recent years, if you're inside, stay and do not run outside, and avoid doorways. I know we previously taught, go in the doorways. Current guidance is to avoid doing that. So stay where you are, away from objects that could fall on you, is the current guidance. Drop to the ground, cover, and then hold on if there's something to hold on to. So I have actually here a couple tips. Where is it? For earthquakes. Honestly, I'm not sure why they did, but FEMA evaluated previous safety tips and changes it based on what the current guidance is. So I'm not 100% positive on that, but it's a good question. Yes, sir. Because doors can open and close. Oh, that makes perfect sense. Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, so can't find that, but so if you want emergency tips, you can look on our website at chinohills.org/emergency management. And we have how to sign up for emergency alerts. Also, if you have not signed up for emergency alerts, Nicole is going to speak on that today. And then you can also come to our booth in the back and we will help you sign up if you're interested and you're not currently signed up. So you can visit us during intermission or right after the event, and we will help you with that. We also have family preparedness tips, pet tips, as well as various hazards such as earthquakes, floods, gas leaks, extreme heat. So all those different hazards you see on there, we have different tips for all of those on our website. And again, you can find that at chinohills.org/emergency management. And then other resources, ready.gov is a great site. It's FEMA's website for preparedness. So they have building a kit, preparing your pets, tips for older adults, individuals with disabilities. Or again, you can visit our website. So if anyone wants to take a picture, I'll leave it for a quick sec. All right. Everyone good on it? Okay, perfect. All right. So thank you. And I will pass it off to our next speaker, Nicole Freeman. Thank you. So Nicole Freeman is the city's public information officer. She was born and raised here in Chino Hills, and she's been with the city for over 10 years in various capacities. And along with Valerie, Nicole is part of the community relations team where she's responsible for all city communications, including outreach before, during, and after emergencies. All right, Nicole.
Thank you, Joyce. Good evening. Yes. Yes, I see everyone out with your phones taking pictures. That's great. I'm actually going to ask you to scan a QR code, so don't put it away just yet. But we just wanted to let you know that these will be online on chinohills.org, so you guys can download a copy, share it with your friends, email it, put it on social media. And if you did leave your email and phone number up at the sign-in sheet, we will be emailing you a link to where you can get that directly. So once we get everything online, just in case you guys want a copy too, it might be a little bit easier than trying to zoom in through your phone. But so as Joyce mentioned, I am the public information officer for Chino Hills. So myself, along with Valerie, who just came up, and Brandon, who you all met at the check-in booth, are in charge of all communication citywide. So we apologize in advance for those late night Carbon Canyon closure notices that you guys get from us, okay? We don't like being up that late either. But I'm gonna very briefly go over how we can all stay informed during an emergency, because when an emergency is happening, that's not the time where you wanna sign up for emergency alerts. So you wanna know how to get ahead of an event, how to find information from official sources, and then I'm gonna go over how you can find Chino Hills and the public safety agencies on social media as well for whatever platforms you may use. So if you do have your phone out, this is a QR code to the city's website to sign up for emergency alerts. So by a show of hands, how many of you received a text or email notification saying that this is a test of the city's emergency alert system today? Okay, that's great. That's a pretty good amount. So for those of you who didn't raise your hand, that means that you are not signed up for emergency alerts yet, and I'd love to walk you through it so you leave here signed up and you're not looking for that information when a disaster does happen. So go ahead and scan this QR code, and I see a few people with their phones out. I'll let you guys capture it, and then I'll walk you through. And for those of you who already signed up, it won't take too long, I promise, but now you'll know how to sign up your friends and family, okay? Okay, a few more with their phones out. And that's going to take you directly to our chinohills.org/alerts page, or sorry, notify me. So that's where all of the city's emergency alerts come from. So it looks like everyone's got it. So I'm going to walk you through and have a quick video for you, but I'm going to talk you through it as we all do it together, okay? So if you're coming from the city's website homepage, if you need to show a friend or family, we're going to want to be on the homepage, and we're looking for this bottom notify me right here, and that's where you're going to want to go, and that's going to take you to our alerts page. And what you're going to want to do is enter your email address. So it's required to have your email address in here. And then that's my email if you guys need to get in touch with me too, okay? So you guys can take a picture of that. Go ahead and sign in. And then if you would like to receive text messages in addition to your email notifications, enter your phone number and select the box where it says, I'd like to receive text messages. And then we're going to scroll down and we're looking for Alert Center. And what we want to look for is the Chino Hills Police category, the emergency category, and the major road closure category. And then you're going to select either the email icon or the phone icon, depending on whether you want to receive emails or text messages. So we have 3 separate categories right now, and Chino Hills Police covers maybe the missing person alerts that you guys might have seen last week, any major police alerts. Emergency covers like any emergency notices, if there was an evacuation warning or an evacuation notice or emergency communications we need to send out to you. And then major road closures are unplanned road closures. So that wouldn't be like the 71 freeway work that you guys are seeing going on or planned tree maintenance in Carbon Canyon. These are unplanned major road closures that could have a citywide effect. And if you come to this page and maybe about a month or so, it may look a little bit different because we're in the process of getting a new communication system, but that won't change your experience on the front end. That's only going to change how we use it in the back end. And anyone who just signed up tonight will be automatically moved over. So if you're showing your friends or family, it just might look a little bit different, but you don't have to worry about it if you're signed up. And we all just signed up, right? So we don't have to worry about that? Okay, good. And then, in addition to the city website, if you're not able to get to the internet or it's just not your thing to go to internet, we also have, we also have a road closure hotline. So this is a number that you can call in, and if there is a Carbon Canyon closure or something like that, we record a voice message and put it on there for you. Also, if there was a major emergency warning or notices that we need to communicate. And then in addition, we're also going to touch on, as you just saw a little bit preview, I'm going to give you all the social media accounts for city, fire, and police departments, so you make sure you're getting official sources of information. And social media is a great tool from your friends and family also, and all the community groups we have to communicate things and get it out to the community quickly. But we want to make sure that we're using it for just that. It's a tool. So in the amount of time that it takes for a member on our team to maybe get a notification, type the message out, put it online, put it across all the platforms, and make sure that we're getting you accurate information. Someone else could drive by and snap a picture a lot quicker than it takes for us to type out that message, and they might not have the full story. So we just want to make sure that, we use it as a tool too to find out and see what's going on and kind of get a pulse on everything. But that's just what it is. It's a starting point, and then we want to make sure that you guys are going to the official city websites or the official social media accounts to make sure that you're getting the latest and most accurate information. And with that, if you want to keep your phone out and snap a picture, these are all of the social media accounts for the city, fire department, and police department. So we are on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter if you use any of those. And that's okay if it's not your thing. Just make sure you're signed up for the city website. And if anyone has any questions or if anyone has any trouble signing up for those alerts, be sure to find me after or find me at the raffle booth when you guys come turn in your stamp cards, and I'd be happy to help you guys all get signed up, okay? And with that, thank you for being here. I'm going to pass it back to Joyce, and she'll introduce our next speaker.
All right. Thank you, Nicole. All right. So now we will go to the fire department, and Danielle O'Toole and Jeremy Alt will be our speakers. So Fire Marshal Danielle O'Toole joined Chino Valley Fire District in 2005 as a fire inspector, and in 2018 she was promoted to her current position as Fire Marshal and oversees the Office of Community Risk Reduction, which is responsible for the enforcement of various laws and standards, education, and outreach to the community. And Deputy Chief Jeremy Alt joined Chino Valley Fire in 2000 as a firefighter paramedic, and in 2012 was promoted to the rank of Chief Officer. Currently, Chief Alt serves as Deputy Chief of Emergency Services and EMS. Since his promotion to Chief Officer, he has served as a strike team leader and has been on numerous wildland fires, both large and small. All right.
Okay, thank you very, very much. Okay, so slightly interactive portion of the evening tonight. Raise your hand if you know what a Thomas Guide is, since we heard Thomas Guide. You are my people. You are my people. So if I say 685 Bravo 2, you know what I'm talking about. Yes. Nicole, a Thomas Guide is like a map book, so I get to tease her all the time. Another slightly interactive portion of the evening. Okay, this is going to require participation on your part. I want you to repeat after me. I am. Now turn to the neighbor. It's going to be a little awkward. It's going to be okay. Turn to your neighbor on your left and say, I am. Okay, now I know this is the Thomas Brothers Guidebook crew, but I need you to be a little bit louder than that, okay? Turn to your right and say, I am. Okay, that was actually the answer. So here's the question. Who's responsible to be prepared? Right. Every single one of us is responsible to be prepared ahead of time, right? Danielle's going to talk about ready, set, go. We've seen some materials on our table a little bit. You've heard that term in the past. Maybe when we were in school and you're getting ready to run your mile around the track, you heard it. You've probably heard it as well when we talk about evacuations. Ready, set, go, okay? The time to get ready is not when we've issued an evacuation warning or order, okay? The time to get ready is now. So obviously I'm preaching to the choir because it's like when you get jury duty and you go in and the judge spends the first 15 minutes talking about how people don't show up to jury duty. It's like, well, wait a second, I showed up for jury duty. You showed up to the preparedness workshop, so we appreciate that. Obviously you're taking steps to be prepared. What we would ask of you is to continue to make those steps when you get home, to be prepared, to get ready, okay? So I'm going to cover just a few things. First and foremost, this is the rocket science portion of the evening, okay? Anybody want to take a guess what fire weather is? It's hot, it's dry, and it's windy, right? Thank you. You're all rocket scientists, and we all pass this evening. I'm joking a little bit, obviously, but that's a very low-tech term for what we call situational awareness. Okay, every day when our firefighters come to work, we ask them to have high SA. It's called situational awareness. We say, have your head on a swivel. Your SA begins when you drive into work that morning. So if you live in the community here and you're in a wildfire interface area, we call that, it's a fancy term for if you live in a beautiful area of town, you probably live in a wildland interface area, an area where your street or home may be up next to wildfire-prone brush or vegetation. Basically, if it's beautiful outside, you probably live in the WUI, we call it, the WUI, Wildland Urban Interface. The key point with that is it's important for you when you wake up in the morning to be aware of what's happening around you with the weather. That's the key indicator. Maybe some of you are aware, maybe you're not. We've actually had several vegetation fires in the fire. So the fire district actually covers the cities of Chino and Chino Hills and some unincorporated areas of San Bernardino County. But we've had several wildfires in the city of Chino Hills already this season and the city of Chino. Now, why do you think that those, besides our wonderful firefighter paramedics and our training and our equipment, why also do you think those fires may not have been big? Vegetation management and what we just talked about with weather, it hasn't really been that hot, dry, and windy yet. As the seasons go, you can see that the large fires typically start in Northern California and then they start working their way south. And as you've heard with the 3 major fires we have burning, it's a good indicator that fire season has come back to Southern California. So the reason we talk about fire weather and being aware is that the recent fires we've had here, we've been able to get control of them quickly. Many, many factors, but also one of the helps was that the weather was a little bit cooler. We don't have our wind yet, and the humidity's been high. So when we start talking about things like red flag warnings, you may hear that term. You may see that on our social media. If you drive by one of our fire stations, you'll see we'll raise the colors and we'll remove the state flag and replace that with a red flag. A red flag condition is a condition issued by the National Weather Service that indicates essentially all 3 of those factors we talked about are present. High temperatures, low humidity, typically under 15%, and windy. And that'll usually be if there's criteria, it's a particular amount of time and things like that. But if you walk outside in the morning and you recognize that it's hot, windy, and dry, and you live in the wildland-urban interface, you should have your SA, your situational awareness, up. You should be paying attention that maybe I should not be welding in my backyard that day. Right? But also, if you've already gotten ready and you have your go kit or those kinds of things in your house, you just may take a look at like social media that day. Be aware of what's happening in your community. If you live like in the Carbon Canyon area, especially like in Sleepy Hollow, do us a favor, pull your trash cans out of the road. Maybe park your car tucked up against the side. Make sure you have good access in your community for us to get through with our fire engines. Those kinds of things can be good indicators that are subject to that fire weather or red flag conditions, right? Now, speaking of having our roads open, we'll talk a little bit about evacuations. I think Joyce mentioned it earlier. You've heard a lot of news talk about what's happening with the bridge fire up in the Angeles, with the line fire in the San Bernardino, and with the airport fire in the Cleveland. Those are the national forests that those fires are centered in, but they obviously affect the communities around them as well. In all of those instances, the agencies issued not only evacuation warnings, but evacuation orders. Now, evacuations are a factor of management of fires that the fire department and law enforcement participate in together. Technically, it's a law enforcement responsibility to issue the orders and evacuations, but we together come together to decide how, when, and why we're going to evacuate or give a warning for a particular neighborhood. So the way it typically works is, as we're managing the fire and commanding and trying to issue or place our resources in the appropriate places, we're always looking ahead to see where the fire may be going. So who was around in 2020 when we had the Blue Ridge incident where we actually had to issue evacuations in our town? So you're looking at one of the guys that was responsible for those decisions in addition to our law enforcement officers. Interestingly enough, with those evacuation warnings and orders that we issued, we upset some folks. We own part of that. One of the reasons we upset some folks is because we issued them early. Now, why do you think we might have issued them early? Safety, well, to be frank, a lot of people don't comply. Okay? And just a few years earlier, the Camp Fire up in Paradise, California, we witnessed what happened up there. That was very much on my mind and others around us when we were trying to make decisions about the safety of our community. And frankly, I was happy making people upset rather than dealing with the worst case scenario, right? So I'd rather make people upset, get them out of their homes safely, than to not make those decisions and then deal with other consequences. So with that, we just want to explain a little bit of the difference between a warning and an order. Again, we talked about ready, set, go. Ready is something you do before we're even talking about evacuations. Now, if you hear that your neighborhood is being warned, you're under evacuation warning, that means we have a fire burning, that we are looking ahead of where that fire may be headed, and we're trying to be proactive to warn the community that a fire may be headed your way, and we want you to get set. And it'd be great if you actually then went. The difference between an evacuation warning and an evacuation order is that an evacuation order is a lawful order for you to leave. Now, we cannot make you leave your property. We can prevent you from coming back if you're away. But what I really want to stress with the fact that if we issue an evacuation warning or an evacuation order, the relationship aspect of this, the best thing that you can do for us is to obey those orders, please. The single biggest reason to obey those orders is for your safety, to get you away from that area that's threatened. The second biggest reason for you to obey that order is the safety of our firefighters. Because what happens when people choose to stay is, and the fire actually impacts their communities. Have any of you ever been in a live, like in a burn over scenario? When you've been burned over by fire? I have. My engine was burned over in a fire called the Esperanza Fire in the early 2000s. Fortunately, we all survived. There were a lot of factors that contributed to that, but I can tell you in other factors, in other opportunities, in other areas of the state, as a strike team leader, I've had to drive in with my pickup truck and throw people in the back seat and drive them out away from their home. Because what happens is, it's very difficult to describe to people how fast fire can really move in real life. You think you may have an idea, like the fire is way over there and I have plenty of time to make decisions. In my case, on the fire engine that I was on, the fire burned about 300 yards in 3 seconds. Remember, fire is basically burning chemicals, right? And when under a windy situation, fire moves at the same speed as the wind. So if you're in a 60 mile per hour wind, the fire is moving at 60 miles per hour. You are literally dodging traffic on the freeway if you choose to stay in your home. So the reason we want to get you out early is for your safety first, and second, because if you don't leave as the fire rolls in, our firefighters are not going to sit by and let you perish or get injured. They're going to risk their lives to get in there and get you out. And the last point I'll make before I turn it over is when that actually happens, if you're in that situation for when fire actually burns into your neighborhood and your home in that fast way, it's the most terrifying experience you'll ever have. And when people are faced with the most terrifying experience they've ever faced, they lose cognitive ability. It's very difficult to make some decisions when you're faced in that kind of stress. So what happens is your normal driving skills, it only takes one horse trailer trying to make a U-turn or one actually Honda Civic to try and make a U-turn with someone that gets behind them to block an entire neighborhood. And then I cannot get 40,000-pound fire engines up your street because somebody accidentally hit a trash can with their car and then a bunch of people got stuck behind them. Does that make sense? I'm sorry? Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah. Great question. I know that I believe the law enforcement officers may be talking about that as well a little bit. There's multiple ways we notify you. The last point I'll make is that social media is a great way for us to notify you, but here's one thing we experienced. What we experienced in the Blue Ridge fire was we issued orders for people to evacuate, but instead of following our orders, they waited and they wanted to make up their own mind whether they should leave based on what they saw on social media. Everybody wanted to know, well, is the fire close to my house? Is the fire close to my house? It's like, well, we actually issued an evacuation order 2 hours ago. Please leave. So we will be very, very busy. We will do everything we can to get a timely notification out to you to evacuate, but that will be our focus, and if we issue those orders, we please ask that you comply. Last point.
You kind of touched on it, but maybe re-emphasize what the firefighters aren't doing when they're trying to rescue people.
They're not fighting the fire. So we will actually issue orders for life safety mission, we call it. If we have an area that we issued an evacuation order and folks failed to comply and they stayed home and the fire runs through really fast, we will stop fighting fire and I'll issue the order for life safety evacuations. And firefighters will stop fighting fire and they'll literally just drive and put people in the back of the engines and try and get them out of there. That means while that's happening, the fire's growing. And I could talk for hours, but I won't tonight. I think I hit the highlights. We hit the Thomas Guide, which was important. One more, and then I'll turn it over to Danielle. It's a great question. So I don't know if you guys are watching the news recently. The sheriff, Shannon Dyke, has actually spoken at a press conference about evacuations on the bridge fire in Wrightwood. And he actually mentioned, or actually it was in the line fire over in the Running Springs area. They had people trying to loot. So one of the issues when you evacuate, there are opportunists sometimes that come out. And so our law enforcement partners are excellent about, and the sheriff was very clear. He was not messing around. If we catch you taking an opportunity to loot, they are going to prosecute you. And the DA, and I don't want to speak for the sheriff's department, but I watched him, and I was proud of what he had to say in that press conference. So when we issue evacuation orders, law enforcement has two roles: to help us get people out and then make sure nobody else comes back in to steal your stuff. Right? Okay. Thank you, everyone, so much, and I'll turn it over to Danielle.
Oh, I think I did right. So as Chief Alt mentioned, I'm going to discuss Ready, Set, Go. Ready, Set, Go is a program that's been around for many, many years, and it's a program that us as a fire district have really been encouraging, especially our residents in the city of Chino Hills. So living in California, but with its natural beauty, and especially with the natural beauty that we have locally, it's imperative that if you live here, that you prepare and you take steps now to harden your home, and that's going to be part of that ready aspect that we're going to talk about. This week, I learned that currently through the state of California, since the beginning of the year, wildfire has ravaged almost 1 million acres of our beautiful state. So we're not immune to it happening here. It's happened. So it's just a matter of when it's going to happen again. I read an article this morning about the bridge fire, and although it's at a 41% containment, there are still nearly 4,000 structures threatened by that fire. So again, it's imperative, I cannot emphasize that enough, that you take action now. And again, I applaud all of you guys. I know it's been said by other speakers that you guys are here tonight to learn about this information. And as I was over at our booth earlier, it was nice to actually hear from people that said this is their first time here. So the fire district has been involved with the city with this preparedness workshop for many, many years. So it's nice to see new faces that you guys are actually being proactive in regards to this. So Ready, Set, Go. It's really 3 steps. And yeah, there you go. No, it doesn't like my images. I don't know. So the ready part of it, as Joyce kind of mentioned, it's about having that plan. So you want to have a plan that isn't just specific to one natural disaster. You want a plan that's going to encompass wildfires, because that's a threat for us locally. So that plan is really going to be preparing your home. So one of the residents mentioned vegetation management. So we, as the fire district, have a vegetation management program. We go out twice a year, inspect properties for weed clearance, but it's just more than that. It's creating that defensible space. It's actually taking steps to what we call harden your home. Then you want to get to a point where you have your emergency kit ready. So to the gentleman who asked the question about people maybe being afraid to evacuate because they're afraid that someone's gonna go loot their house, your plan is taking that into consideration now. So you know where your valuables are. So it's that that situational awareness that Chief Alt spoke to, that you're aware of that so you can gather those things beforehand. So if something were to happen on any given day, you have that stuff in place. So when you get that warning and you want to go early, you don't have to worry about that. That's not going to be a concern for you. The next one I'm going to go over is, am I messing it up? is it's a relatively newer program. It's called Safer for Wildfires. Not sure how many of you have heard about it, but Safer for Wildfires was created as an interagency partnership between the governor's office and the insurance commissioner's office. A lot of the information that is on the flyer we have this evening, it really comes from the Ready, Set, Go brochure. This is just a more in-depth, more detailed information regarding the program, but the flyer is pretty much condensed. So I've pointed out there's three factors to the program. One is to protect your home or business. The second is to protect your surroundings, so think of kind of that defensible space around your home. And then the third one is to protect the whole community. So on the back of this flyer, in this blue box, there's 11 items that that are part of this program. So insurance companies are actually required by the commissioner's office to create rate factors for homeowners based on these 11 things. The very last one is being part of a fire risk reduction community. So as of July 1st, Chino Valley Fire District is a part of that community list. It's the only thing on this list that we as a governing agency can do for our residents, that we can do for our community. And we've achieved that this year. It's required to be renewed every 2 years. So in 2026, we will be applying to renew. The first item on there.
In the state, how many communities are on that list?
In the state, I believe there's 50. But some of them are double because you can be a fire district in a city. So for instance, City of Rancho Cucamonga, they have both on the list. So it is a mix, but thank you. The first one is already done for you. The City of Chino Hills, this first bullet point is to have a Class A roof. So the City of Chino Hills has had an ordinance for many, many years that requires homes to have a Class A roof. So we've already checked 2 items off of this list for you. So now it's imperative that you do the remaining to help prepare yourself and be ready when that next wildfire happens. So our very first slide had a quote, and I'm just going to rephrase it a little bit. So when a wildfire impacts Chino Hills, the time to prepare is not then, it's now. Thank you.
Time for a break, Joyce? All right.
All right. We'll see. All right. So, question for the audience, because we had such a huge turnout, I want to offer switching things up to you all, because we want to make sure that we have enough time to hear what the police department has to say. So, would you guys like to push through and do that last presentation? And then do the intermission booth visit, and then we close with the raffles for your chances for prizes and then your free giveaway? All right. All right, sounds great. All right, in that case, I will introduce the police department. So we have Sheriff's Service Specialist and Crime Prevention, Angela Wilson. Angela has been with San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department since 2020. She currently serves as a Sheriff's Service Specialist here at our Chino Hills Police Station. And then with her, we have Corporal Steve Kessler, who has been with the County Sheriff's Department for 19 years and currently is a supervisor for the Traffic Division, School Resource Officers, and Sheriff's Service Specialist. And his enthusiasm lies in matters concerning quality of life and advocating for heightened situational awareness during emergencies or disasters. You guys can use the clicker or the space bar. All right.
Thank you. Okay, hello there. Tonight we're going to talk to you guys about some emergency notifications and how you guys can sign up for those, as well as what to expect when those evacuation orders are given, whether it's just the warning or the official order to time to go, and what to expect when that happens. So, let's see here. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk to you about is our telephone emergency notification system. It's known as TENS. So what that is it's a high-speed mass notification that happens during any evacuations for natural disasters or any other incidents that we might have. It's a database of landline telephone numbers. However, you can sign up for your mobile phones, because I know how many people actually in here have a landline telephone still? Oh, that's a pretty good size. Okay. I'm surprised. So, but there is a way that you can sign up your mobile phone numbers as well to receive those services. The database winds up getting updated every 6 months. So when I go through here how you're going to get yourself registered, you just make sure that you check in once every 6 months, and that'll keep your account active. If you fail to do that, it may get dropped off, and if that's the case, you just sign right back up again, okay? How you'll register your cell phone for that kind of stuff is there's a couple of ways to do it. One is using the SB County or the Ready SB County application. That's the icon that you're going to see. You can do a search for it. It's a free application that you can get on your phone, be it iPhone or an Android. But it's that blue icon there with the San Bernardino County and our golden arrow that's on there. You can also sign up there if you go ahead and feel free to take a picture of the website that's on there for the sbcounty.gov Sheriff's Alerts. That's another way that you can access to getting yourself signed up to get on the TENS notification system. And of course, you can also sign up for the city alerts through their website. So what I'm going to show you next is a brief video that the sheriff and the fire chief for Cal Fire's or San Bernardino Fire they've put together for that TENS system. It'll kind of explain to you how it works and how to sign up for it.
During a major disaster such as a wildfire, your fire and sheriff's department uses a system known as the Telephone Emergency Notification System, or TENS, to send high-speed mass notifications by telephone and text messages. This system helps us get critical updates such as evacuation information out as quickly as possible.
Mandatory evacuations in the area.
A database of landline telephone numbers is updated every 6 months. But if you only use a mobile phone or have more than one mobile phone in your family, it's important for you to register those mobile numbers into TENS to receive these critical updates.
Visit sbcounty.gov/TENS to sign up for emergency text messages. TENS alerts are targeted to the affected areas. Enter a valid San Bernardino County street address and you will only receive those alerts for your local area.
Help us keep you safe during a disaster by registering your mobile phone number today.
So what happens with that TENS system is it does your neighborhoods, and it'll go through there and it'll select, it's basically a grid system that we'll use, and it'll select those neighborhoods that need to be notified when the time comes, when the fire department has worked with us and going through those neighborhoods to determining, hey, who's going to get a warning, and usually that's the first thing that we're going to come out there, and we'll do a wide spread for putting out that warning that those evacuations are probably going to come. So that's when that's time for you to get yourself prepared, get all of that stuff that's ready that you've already gone through, and hey, maybe it's time to load it up into the car, or at least get it by the front door so when that order comes, if it does, you're ready to go. Because once those evacuation orders get put in, it's going to be too late to start getting yourself prepared for it. That's when it's going to be time to head out the door. So another way that helps us out with these emergency notifications is Smart 911. Okay, and you can go to the website that's on there. What that does is you'll sign up for that, and it basically gives more information to our 911 dispatchers when you call in for whatever emergency that you may have. A lot of times nowadays, most of the phone calls that we're receiving are coming in off of mobile phones, and so that's something there that you're going to put in your residence and some other information about you so that when you make that phone call, the dispatchers, that information's already provided and popped up onto their screen so that we're going to know, hey, who that phone number belongs to and where they're calling from. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to respond to your house when you made that phone call while you're over at Costco, but at least it's going to give us a little bit more information about you. Now, if you are at Costco, don't worry. We know, our dispatchers know when you call 911, there's a ping that comes off of that cell phone tower, so we know the proximity of where you're calling from. So we're going to know, hey, you're not at home right now. But because it's the same thing when we get that proximity from that cell phone tower, it's going to let us know, hey, we're in that proximity. Okay, well, the address popped up, so that's probably where they are. So it just kind of helps speeds up our dispatcher and with you as far as getting us sent out to your house and getting the information we need from you. So go ahead and feel free. So it's smart911.com. Now, when it comes to evacuation procedures, We're going to determine that with the fire department what areas are probably going to be most affected in that line of where that fire is probably going to be headed to, or if we have problems in the case of it's an earthquake and maybe we've got a road closure and some other issues that are happening in a certain area, so hey, maybe we need to get everybody out of here. Law enforcement, we're the ones that are going to be responsible for issuing those orders. When you get that warning, you're probably going to start seeing us in your neighborhood, but the best way to have that warning is to come up is by getting signed up with these notification systems. And they're going to put out that warning, and it's just saying, hey, just get ready for it. We're going to try to advise you as soon as we can. The fire department, they're going to assess what's going on with that fire. A lot of the times when they first show up on scene, they're going to determine, hey, is this something that we're going to be able to put out really quickly? Or, hey, is the terrain and the fuel source, is this going to be something that's going to go pretty quickly? So have a plan with your family what you're going to do when you get those notifications, okay? Sometimes we have plenty of time to get you that warning, but the way that some of these fires are going right now, it could be pretty quickly from, hey, you got that warning to, hey, 5 minutes ago they said it was a warning, now they're telling us to get out. So it just kind of depends on the proximity of where that disaster is to your location in your neighborhood. But the biggest thing is right now is it's up to you right now in getting yourself signed up with these different applications to get those notifications as quickly as you can, okay? Social media is great, but there's a delay sometimes with that, just because whoever is putting out that social media post is waiting to get that information from the command center as far as what's actually happening. So I know that that was something that was discussed, that don't look at social media to kind of wait for it. One of the best examples I have for you is if you look at calfire.org, and they have all the different fires that are going on right now, and you can look at it. Those updates are happening a couple of times a day. So if you're wanting to see exactly what's going on with that fire, well, you're going to know if hopefully you hit refresh on that screen, and that's when they happen to update it. Otherwise, it could be a couple of hours old. So once you get evacuated, once we've to come through and we've said, hey, it's now time, that warning is over, now we're going to give you the order. It's time to leave. You'll get that through your notification, as well as you're going to start seeing deputies' vehicles coming in through your car, and you're probably going to might even have some door-to-door visits as well. So we have a siren now that's different than our normal tone from when you get pulled over for speeding. And after that, we have a recorded message that's in English and in Spanish and now in Mandarin that's going to tell you, hey, you now have a mandatory evacuation. You need to leave. We will also start going door to door to try to determine, hey, who decided that they do not want to leave, okay? And if that's the case, expect that the deputy's going to knock on your door and ask you for information. First, they're going to ask you, hey, it's a mandatory evacuation. It's time to go. If you're not going to leave, okay, then let's start getting some information from you and whoever else is in the house, because we may not be able to get back to you. And that's the worst case scenario. We want to know who stayed behind, and so we have an account for them. It's also there for us to let the fire department know, hey, we know these people are still here. There's time to come and get them. And so then they're going to have that idea of which homes, what the address is, and how many people they think that are going to be there. Okay, so that's why we're knocking on your door. Once you leave that area, that mandated area, you're not coming back in. Okay, we're basically saying for your safety, for our safety, we don't want you coming back and forth. And then the other big thing is, hey, if those looters show up, we're not letting them in. Okay, so please, when it's that time when we give you that order, it's time to take off and get out of there, because we're looking out for your safety. Okay, and we will do our best to make sure that your home is still there. I know the firefighters will still be doing their best to make sure that your home is there, and we're going to make sure that we're doing our best to get those bad guys out of there.
Hi, this is Deputy Adam Cervantes from your San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. Wildfire season is here, and you need to be prepared. Our #1 priority during a fire emergency is your safety. Being ready for an evacuation order is vital, so take the time today to get your wildfire action plan and emergency supply kit in order. before disaster strikes. Information is critical during an emergency, so when your local law enforcement agency gives an evacuation order, it's time to go, and go fast. Those that refuse a mandatory evacuation put their lives and the lives of other emergency personnel at risk. So how can you get prepared and stay informed during an emergency? Download the Ready SB County Disaster Preparedness app. It'll walk you through step by step on how to be prepared and alert you when it's time to evacuate. And if smartphone apps aren't for you, you can sign up for the Reverse 911 Emergency Alerts at sbcfire.org or sbcounty.gov/sheriff. Once again, this is Deputy Adam Cervantes from your San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, urging you to be ready for wildfire season.
Okay, we're gonna go over some be prepared stuff that we probably went over already. Back your car into your driveway if you can. I know I'm not really great at backing into my driveway. Have at least half a tank of gas. As soon as I'm at like a quarter tank, I automatically fill up my car. Just always be prepared if you have to leave and travel far. Keep important documents filed in a box. Birth certificates, passports, any important documents. You might want to know, like your insurance policy numbers, have those things in that box. Have your cell phone charged, portable chargers packed, any priceless items, keepsakes, jewelry, any personal needs that you have, and make sure your prescriptions are always filled. So listen to your car radio, TV for announcements from law enforcement and emergency personnel. You might be directed temporarily to assembly areas to await transfer to a safe location, just in case the designated location is not safe at that time. We might have you move to a different area. Okay, do you want to go over that?
One of the things too that I want to talk about with the evacuation, I know some of the homes that are here, they've got some, you have some livestock. So if you got your horses there or anything else like that, when we give you that warning, that's time to start loading those animals up and getting them to a safer area that maybe you've already got somewhere else, another friend or another ranch that you know that you can take them to. Right now with the fires, once that stuff gets up, we have those emergency shelters that are set up, not only just for ones for the humans, but also for livestock like that. And it's also, I know sometimes not everybody has access to those trailers to move their horses. There are groups that volunteer that kind of stuff. That warning stage, that's the time to go ahead and move those animals now, because it's not going to be, you've got to realize you're not the only one that may need to have that service and that somebody to help you out with that. And it may take them a little while to get to those animals, to get them moved to a safer place. So that's one thing. If you do have horses or you've got cattle or goats, something like that, that you need to move, when you get that warning, that's the time to move them out of there, just to get them on the safe side so it's not too late and you don't have to leave them behind. Now, the one thing we did talk about when we shut down those neighborhoods and it's secured, there's a California Penal Code. It's 409.5, and that's what authorizes law enforcement to restrict access to those areas that we have now closed off due to safety concerns, whether it's a natural disaster or an explosion or some other accident. And that's when we are authorized to make those arrests if you're refusing to comply. So when we've shut down the roads and you're trying to get back there and to get your prescriptions, hey, that's one of those moments when we're not going to let you back in there. And I know that that's an issue. That's why we suggest, hey, have all that stuff packed, because once you go, you're not coming back in. And sometimes we do have to have city personnel to help us with those road closures, and they're standing by, and they can't authorize to let you through. And every now and then somebody says, well, forget it, I'm going to go. I don't see a cop car. Well, they've got cameras too, and they're talking to us, so we've got your license plate, and we probably know where you're headed. So you might get a visit from us, and you might be arrested for it. But the biggest reason why that law is there is to prevent looting. So it authorizes us to go ahead and somebody who's not supposed to be in there, we can automatically pull them over just for being in that area and find out why they're there. And if they're up to no good, they're going to go with us. Okay? So here's the next one is going to be some of the important phone numbers that are available here. This dispatch number that is here, this is the non-emergency dispatch that is specifically for Chino Hills. Sometimes when you call that number, you might get a quicker response than calling 911. Just depends on how busy the day is for our dispatch. But that's the number you can call at any time that, hey, maybe you don't have an emergency, but you do require law enforcement to respond to your home. Okay? So whether you have questions over something, or maybe this isn't an emergency, but you do need law enforcement there to take a report because perhaps you have an identity theft issue, or you've come home and the house has already been burglarized, something like that. That's when you can call that number. But by all means, you have an emergency and you need to say right away, please call 911. That's going to be a lot easier for everybody to remember than pushing in all these 7 digits to get a hold of us. The Red Cross's phone number is in there as well, FEMA's. And please don't forget to sign up and download the Ready SB County app and register yourself for TENS. But thank you.